Today I'm joined by the Mayor of Lloydminster, Gerald Albers. Thank you so much for coming down to the station today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation.
And we are here today, as what we do every year, to recap the year. And to start, I really just want to get your personal emotions tied to this year and how you feel about it.
Well, certainly 2024 is, there's a lot of things that have happened throughout the city and throughout the provinces and the country. So they all have an effect in Lloydminster when it rolls back. And going backwards, I guess the election of a new municipal government, a new council to join myself, being acclaimed was a real honor and a privilege, to say the least, from that perspective. And as we just back up, we just had an incredible, great fall for farmers and for the community. We saw a very, very busy summer. Springtime, we got through the winter as we always do, and we started again. Of course, there was construction season, as people remind me, and winter season. So, 2024 covered a lot of bases. We saw a provincial election, municipal election, from that perspective. So, and we hosted two premiers in this city this summer, in September, which was really terrific to see. That's such an important piece because the provinces play such a huge role in the governance and funding of the city.
I wanted to jump into some of the big capital projects that Lloyd completed over the duration of the year. The big one that I wanted to talk about was the wastewater treatment facility. And this is just such a big thing for the city of Lloydminster and something that we've talked about at length. But if you could just talk to me about everything surrounding that.
Well, the wastewater treatment facility was one of those projects that it showed up early in the first council I was elected to in 2016. And certainly we faced some challenges with the federal government because the regulations of our discharge, not as much about the facility, but the discharge, but that is the facility and what happens. So that led us on a little mission of 3 years of fundraising with the two provincial governments and the federal government, understanding the need and why it was important, because it wasn't just for our city. Our water is discharged to the North Saskatchewan River, which affects every water user downstream of us all the way to the Hudson Bay. So there's a responsibility on the city to ensure that we did the best that we could do. Administration pulled together and came forward with a plan that said this is the best long-term option we can give. They gave us 5 options, and the option that was chosen and is constructed is, from a perspective, the best option that we looked at for both the cost effectiveness to build, but also the operation costs, which we can never forget, because those operational costs will be with us forever. So that's what led us to where we're at. 3 years of, I call, fundraising and grant securing, 3 years of construction, built with an integrated project delivery model that was new to us and new to the community, where some people referred to it as a barn raising with money involved. Neighbors all came together. All our contractors came together, worked side by side with the city, with their operations team that was there every day that are going to operate it. And having had experience in the oil and gas industry and watching projects sometimes not go as well as they'd hoped, I think this one I've heard nothing but compliments all the way around. And it's an award-winning project on a few levels, both national and provincial. So, it speaks highly of our team at the city, our contractors, our subcontractors, and the community as a whole.
It's a great thing for the city of Lloydminster to have, and you can't talk Lloydminster in 2024 without mentioning the Saskatchewan Summer Games.
The Saskatchewan Summer Games, what a challenge to have everyone been phased for 2020. The committee, fundraising, sponsors, donors, the medals were bought. This is what's interesting. The medals were bought, the clothes were bought because they were long lead. And we know what happened with the pandemic and COVID-19. And it was really a downer in 2020 when we couldn't produce those games, and talked about it in 2021, hoping we could just put a slash over the 0 and put a 1 on the close and things like that. Creative thinking, but as it was, there was no games held. So Saskatchewan Summer Games Committee was agreeable to let us have another option, shot at it. Council approved going back to 2024, and 2024 came. What a team. Some new members of the Games Committee, the host committee, others had been seasoned, to say the least, had worked on a number of games, which we appreciate. Brought those experiences together. At the end of the day, the community, the provinces, and the country, because we had people volunteering from across Canada that found out about the games and said, said, I want to come to Lloydminster and be part of it. And that was just terrific. Parents supported it, volunteered, that were there with their family members because they wanted to be part of that. And I think we hosted one of the best games ever in Saskatchewan. Our venues were top notch. Our volunteers, again, huge congratulations to the community, to the volunteers, the organizing committee. I received a number of compliments about how beautiful our city was, how friendly we were, how accommodating we were. Local businesses stepped up, and this was their opportunity to shine, because often people drive through our city and they don't really get to see our city the way they should. And I think the Summer Games was just one example that it helped promote our city to the rest of Saskatchewan and other people.
Such a great event for Lloyd and everybody who visited Lloyd as well. I wanted to pivot to the council chambers. There was a lot of change this year with the municipal election, and I kind of wanted to just touch on, it's only been a month basically of you guys, so I really wanted to just get your initial thoughts on this new council group with the 3 newcomers and 3 returning.
So yeah, and let's talk about the year in 2024 as council. We saw a resignation, and then we had one of our members pass away. Councillor Fagnan passed away. So we did have a by-election. So we ended up, and that Councillor Lopez had the opportunity to run again and was re-elected, which was terrific. So we've got 2 council members that have served in 2 former councils. Councillor Lopez had that 7-8 months of experience back at the table, and 3 new individuals from the community. The diversity from age and the makeup of our council members is terrific. It's so important to have youth, and we do have some youth there for sure, as well as people that have family members involved in schools, recreation and activities, as well as us all being involved in recreation and cultural activities throughout the city, gives the council a very diverse experience to draw on. And you're going to see that, I think, for the next 4 years, where people will say, hey, this is the way it was when I was born and raised here. And 5 out of 7 members of our council have their roots here, or were very young when they came and have lived their lives here. So I think that brings a whole different dimension again from previous councils. The energy in the room, I can tell you there's energy in the room, and that's terrific. I appreciate. There's also that first steps of making sure that I want to understand. I've got a lot of questions. I want to do the research, and that's so important, because as new council members, and I kind of go back to 2016 when I had the pleasure of being elected the first time. Wow, it is a totally different experience. And I think if you interviewed any of the council members, long-term council members per se, for 2 terms under their belt, or new council members, there's a huge learning curve. We've went through the refresh for the serving councillors that have got experience, but the new councillors, the training, and I know it's quite an experience. And the term that's often used in the municipal world anyways that I've heard from, it's like drinking from a fire hose, because there's a lot of information and there's so much background sometimes that it just isn't what's today. What brought us to that condition of today, be it facilities, the decisions that were made to get us to this point. So there's always a lot of background that needs to be looked at, and council members are fully aware of that, and where administration and more experienced council members are sharing our knowledge with the new council, and I think it'll be a great opportunity.
All right, perfect. That covers all of the questions that I had for you today. I want to thank you again for recapping the year with me today, and thank you so much again.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to 2025 with the community, and I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing everybody in 2025 as we move forward as a city.